Piano Slam is a program of Dranoff to Piano Fusion, an incredible program that your school and many others have benefited from over the course of many, many years. We hope you continue to enjoy concerts like this, poets like Mecca, and others that come into your classroom and teach you how to write poetry, the poetry coaches that get you through teaching you how to perform on stage if you are fortunate enough to be selected. We look forward to receiving your poems at the end of February. And if you win at the finals, there's a $1,000 prize for you. I know you're excited about winning that money, but let's quiet down. Let's get ready for the program. First up, we have Mecca, AKA Grimo. Mecca is an actor, a hip-hop poet, and a cultural ambassador who was born in Brooklyn, New York, and moved to Miami as a teenager. He is the son of Haitian parents who came to the United States for a better life. Mecca's great uncle Felix was a world-renowned Haitian poet who became a great influence on him, which is a testament to how adults can be an influence on you, right, and on all of us. So Mecca has since developed a deep love and appetite for writing and performing, and he nurtures a poetry hub for poets and creatives called Poetic Lakai. So let's welcome to the stage Mecca.
All right, good morning. Bonjour. All right. My name is Mecca Grimo Marston. I've been working with Piano Slam for the past 17 years. A few weeks ago, I came and I did a workshop here. All right, that was the creative writing workshop, teaching you guys how to write poetry. Today, Piano Slam is here to give you a performance, so you can see what the performance kind of looks like, to motivate you, so you can see what it feels like and sounds like when piano and poetry clash together. All right? When I say piano, you say slam. Piano. Piano. When I say poetry, you say vibes. Poetry. Poetry. Now I'm gonna need some help with you guys, okay? When I say but without knowledge, I need to hear you say your mind is blind. But without knowledge, but without knowledge, but without knowledge, my mind is developing, propelling to higher heights, new sights, surpassing satellites, beyond the elements of the cosmos within the twilights. Each time I read, I feed the mind, it expands the time, because knowledge is infinite, but without knowledge, see, the more I read, the less I know, because it seems like I still have the whole universe to go. From Mercury to Pluto to then, who knows? See, Columbus thought our planet was flat, so trivial to his findings, binding him to ignorance. The willingness to learn is much more than a chore, but a responsibility. To uplift the youth and show them through generations of proof, each one, teach one, greet one without hostility. Increase the probability of our children getting scholarships so they can get into better schools. Let's create a lighted path for them. Let's not be fooled into being fools. But rules and regulations, segregation is what causes separation. Temptation for those with no opportunity, but still seeking unity. But life's ups and downs are included like gratuity. Ebonics is spoken fluently. Even our leaders are committing the most hideous crimes. Knowledge is power, but without knowledge, but we all gotta find ourselves with or without help. Young kings, pick up your pants, tighten your belt. Young queens, fix your crowns. You also got a story to tell. And let's do this while we're all in our prime, because we don't have too much time. Because knowledge is power. Knowledge is infinite. But without knowledge, snap it up for yourselves, snap it up for yourselves. Listen, very important, when somebody is speaking to you and dropping nuggets and gems, that please you pay attention. I wasn't born in Haiti, but Haiti was born in me. I'm a first-generation Haitian who is also a product of the immigrant migration. My parents came here in search of a better life. Seeking salvation, they moved to the States, a risk many are willing to take, and the ones that do, by example, lead, and that brings us to where I was conceived, a place called Brooklyn, New York. Yes, I was born there, but still had the fear of acknowledging my own true Haitian culture. I moved to Queens when I was 6, and the same mind tricks that called me refugee haunted me and made me not want to be Haitian. So how can I smile when my people are being made fun of? I'm asking my fellow peers, where's the love? Silly stereotypes which stab at my self-esteem, trying to submerge me in the strong currents of the Atlantic. When my parents would go to parent-teacher meetings, I'd panic. Because when you heard my father's heavy Haitian accent, that meant that I'd be the joke of the class the next day in school. They called me boat people, refugee, just to name a few. What was I supposed to do? So I crawled back in my shell, all the while still in denial of all of the rich history that IET had to offer to the world. It wasn't until I moved to Miami and was already in the teens, finding out that IET was the first independent black empire in the world. In the Antilles, we were considered the pearl. So I started to research, archive, historical events and facts that may have fell through the cracks. No longer will I hide behind these silly stereotypes that would denounce the legacy of my ancestors. So now I'm conducting educational workshops to the youth that once thought like me. I wasn't born in IET, but IET was born in me. I want to leave you with my last spoken word piece. When I was going to the poetry scenes, we used to do it for the love of writing and performing and, and sharing. But once money played a part, it started to taint the poetry scene. So I wrote this piece as an observation of what I was seeing during that time. This poetry scene seems so fresh and so clean and refreshing. It's a blessing to have visions and dreams and be able to express them through the 5 senses of expression. To see, but filtering through the imagery and magnifying the beauty. To touch and get a rush of verbalizing, reciting, inviting the listener to hear clear, smelling, telling the tale without fail until the storyline prevails. Just as thoughts sail off, just as a letter is mailed off, hoping to reach each with the message in each line. This poetry scene makes my mouth water, but this poetry scene is really food for the mind. This poetry scene I've seen used to be serene, but it was never all about the green dough. But it was more for hopes. When words fell upon deaf ears and we just spoke. We used metaphors and similes, rhythm and rhyme, alliteration, personification, because poetry ain't no joke. This poetry scene. Thank you. My name is Mecca, a.k.a. Grimo, Piano Slam alumni. Blessings.
But I want to remind you that you are very capable of writing poetry, just like our friend. And if you submit a winning poem, you will be on the Arts Center stage. But you know what? With a lot of support, so don't be scared. There are poetry coaches that will be performance coaches, actually spoken word performance coaches, who will be working with you and training you for like 2.5 weeks straight, working you hard to teach you how to be on stage, how to talk in front of people, how to present your thoughts. So that's a lot to get excited about. So joining us now are 2 incredible pianists, the kinds of pianists that you would experience on the Piano Slam stage at the performance in April. We have Inessa Gegprifti and Reddy Lupa. I'm going to tell you a little bit about both of them before they come on stage. Inessa was born in Albania. She came to the U.S. to study music and eventually landed at the Frost School of Music right here at the University of Miami. Inessa has performed in her home country as well as in parts of Europe and Latin America. She is now an adjunct professor at the Frost School and directs its classical summer experience. Reddy is also of Albanian heritage. He has performed in Europe, North and South America, and Asia, but he prefers contemporary repertoire, which means he seeks to perform music by living composers, and he has a very important concert coming up in April in Albania. Together, both Inessa and Reddy hold doctorates in music, and they form, as a duo Spectra. So welcome to the stage, Duo Spectra.
All right. Well, Reddy and I are extremely happy to be here today. This is the second time for us being at your school, so we love seeing everyone. We love seeing new faces. Thank you. And we love it when you guys listen. It's amazing what can happen when one listens. Awesome. We were actually part of Piano Slam, the actual show, the production, at the Arts Center last year and the year before that. And I can tell you from personal experience, from seeing everybody come into it, maybe new to the whole process of performing for a large audience, mixing poetry and music, having to do certain moves that are choreographed, and seeing how everybody grows in those weeks of rehearsals leading to the final production. It's really amazing. We've seen some wonderful performances come out of you guys, youth from middle school and high school. So congrats on that. Keep working hard, keep writing your poetry, keep expressing yourselves, and we can't wait to see what the final product looks like, and we hope that some of you will be winners and participate at the Art Center. So with that said, we'll go straight into our music. We have some selections of different styles of music for you today, and music that comes from different eras. We will start first with music by a classical composer. Now, throughout centuries, different cultures have expressed themselves, whether in celebration, joy, grief, any kind of certain emotion or life event that you may think of, in forms of song, forms of dance, forms of spoken word or poetry. If you think all the way back into the Middle Ages, we're talking 13th century, 14th century, people used to travel. They would go from town to town with a little lute in their hand and tell stories and ballads, and people would know what happened as far as histories, and people fought and had epic battles. And this was upon musicians and poets to actually declare the news. They were like that day's newspapers. So when it comes to knowledge being transferred from century to century, we find that in music too. And we find that from composer to composer, they all learn from each other. So the first one we will play is Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Does that name sound familiar to anybody? Yes? All right, good. You probably have heard something called the Turkish March, which is really upbeat, and it has this kind of groovy rhythm to it, for the classical era at least. This one is a little similar. I like to call it like a sunny sonata, because it's in the key of D major, and that ends up being a very positive and kind of energetic key. So we will start with that. You will hear a lot of back and forth between us, a lot of quick passages, and kind of energized throughout. Mozart was known for writing operas, so he has a lot of singing lines in his music also. So we hope that you can catch some of those, the singing part and maybe the more energized part. You ready to listen? Yes? Awesome.
So listen, so I'm not sure how many of you were in the workshops when I came here and I did writing workshops with you, all right, in the auditorium and in the classrooms. Okay, so listen, there is a glossary, a music glossary that belongs to the project, okay? So make sure you look at that glossary term. Those terms have to be used in your poem. Just like we did when we did the exercises and we were doing the writing styles. Listen, those terms, that's a bank, that's a glossary bank of vocabulary words that you must use periodically in your poem. Show us that you're making an effort to place these words in the poem. The definitions are there for you, so you understand what they are just in case you didn't. Those are not familiar with musical terms. Chords, crescendo, a lot of those words, you're familiar with them. Make sure you slip them in your poem, all right? Make sure it makes sense. Like I told you also, we're poets. We're not just piecing words together. We're not just rhyming words, consciously making an effort, intentional effort to bring a message across, okay? We're gonna show you what some of the dynamics are and how they are in the vocabulary words as well.
Great. Okay, so dynamics, they have to do a lot with volume. Like dynamic means the change in our volume. So we do that with speech. I can speak like this, but I can also, I don't want to blast the mic. So we will hear variety of dynamics. We can start from soft to loud. This would be piano, just like the instrument. If we start to grow and go to a higher level of dynamic, mezzo forte and forte. Right, for those of you that speak Spanish or Italian, forte is very similar to that, right? Fuerte, so strong, big dynamic. Same thing with piano, it's a little bit more gentle. We have terms like it was mentioned, glissando. Glissando is, pretend you're cleaning the keys, right? This is glissando. So basically it gives that sense of a wave or something that is kind of passing through and it accumulates in intensity as it passes through. Very rarely do you hear soft glissandi. I mean, you do, but most of the times they're used for that kind of effect, something that really builds up. Crescendo is a word that we hear a lot in piano slam. You guys love to use that word. And that means to gradually grow in dynamic. So the dynamics we went through earlier, piano, mezzo forte, forte, those would be like benchmarks. If you do crescendo, you go through them gradually. There's more shading in that. And then decrescendo or decrescendo would be the opposite. You can use diminuendo also. Diminuendo, decrescendo, they're similar. They're synonyms of each other. Yes, we all heard that? Right. We have articulations. For example, something can be really legato, which means more song-like, something more vocal, more connected. Something can be staccato, more punctuated, and with more energy to it, more of a spark. We're doing good? Any other terms we're wondering about? This is good, as much as the mind can handle it first. Good.
Mozart, the next piece we are going to play for you is quite different. Is by Colin McPhee. He's a Canadian composer. He traveled a lot in different parts of the world, and he specifically went to Indonesia, Malaysia, Bali, and he experienced the music of gamelan. Gamelan instruments, gamelan music is very different from any percussion music that we hear in general, especially percussion music from the Western world. It has a huge array of sounds and colors. So music has this ability to bring us to places, right? We don't necessarily have to travel physically there. So what Colin McPhee did is he sort of transposed or transferred that sound world to the piano, into pianos. So we all know that the piano instrument is a keyboard instrument. Do you have any idea that it can be also a different sort of instrument, not just keyboard? Keyboard is basically what we see at first. What about inside the piano? Yeah, somebody there? Percussion. Yes, it is a percussion. Yeah? Who else? Bass. Because you can pluck it, right? You can go inside and pluck it. But for this piece, this time, I want you to think that is also a percussion instrument. Yeah? Because inside the piano, you have these hammers that strike the strings. Yeah? So what Colin McPhee is going to do is that he's going to mimic that strike, right? So the technology of the piano allows that. The technology of the piano can morph its own sound. Yeah, so try to hear this completely differently from what you heard from Mozart. Yeah, and stick with the idea that you want to hear just colors, right? And all these kind of different gamelan instruments that of different sizes. They produce different timbres. So I hope you enjoy.
Thank you, thank you. So that was kind of like a wash of sound, right? You feel kind of like you're swimming in sound. At least I do when I'm playing. The song is called Balinese ceremonial music, meaning music from Bali, music used to celebrate. How did he write that? That's a very good question. So Reddy was saying earlier that he went and traveled to Bali and actually saw people playing those instruments, which is this entire very intricate percussive setup. They have all sorts of mellophones, which means instruments that are percussive but that are made out of metals. So they have this very like clangy sound. And then when you mix them all together, they have a really cool kind of mix of textures and timbres. So he wrote that kind of reminiscing over that and wanting to imitate those sounds for the piano. It is by Colin McPhee, who is a Canadian composer. There's also an orchestral version, so for anybody that is curious, go ahead and listen to that too. All right, we're moving on to Mr. Barber, Samuel Barber, not Barber, the person that cuts your hair, that's his last name. Samuel Barber, we're listening, yes? Great, so Mr. Samuel Barber, he's an American composer, and he's written this set of pieces called Souvenirs. Now, souvenir literally means a memory, so he's bringing back memories of places that he may have imagined, places that he may have visited, or places that carried a particular meaning in his heart, in his mind. So through music, we can get, like Reddy was saying, we can get to travel to different places. And in this case, he has put two dances together, or more than two, but we're playing two of the set. We're playing one that is called Pas de deux, which is a dance of two. So if you've ever seen ballet, is when like the two main characters sort of dance together. So there's a lot of kind of intertwining of the musical lines, just like they would when they're dancing together, and they pirouette and they do all the fancy stuff. So you will kind of hear that in the music. And then the second one is called the Scottish. Now, I don't know much about Scotland and of Scottish people, but in this way that he has written it, there's a bit of like clumsiness and maybe some sort of, tripping over things. They tend to stop a little bit, so I don't know, maybe they just woke up from a nap or something and they're trying to like get going with their day. So there's a lot of stop and go in the piece, which is kind of comical and humorous. So I hope you enjoy that, and then we'll talk about the other two dances. So remember at the beginning I mentioned that there's different forms of expressing ourselves, right? So at first we had some music that was very percussive, so kind of instrumental, but that would accompany dance. And then here we have something that is more lyrical, emulating dance too, yeah? He's written this set of Slavonic dances. So they're all dances that kind of carry on the spirit of the folk music from the area where Czech Republic currently is. However, they're not necessarily based on specific folk tunes, but they kind of have this emotional nature to them that is very similar to the music of the folk people from the Czech Republic. And then the second one is a Jamaican rumba. Now, the rumba originated in the Cabildos in Cuba. So as a dance form, is very much rooted in a tradition of West African rhythms. So there's a lot of syncopated rhythms. Anybody here know how to dance bachata? Yes, nice. All right. So you will hear in this one too. It has a little da da dum pa pum, dee dum pa pum, something like that. All right. I won't continue. I won't make a fool of myself anymore. So then we have these two very different cultural expressions through dance, through music for dance. And I hope that you will hear the different characteristics between them. So listen for the rhythm changes when it comes to the second piece. As you see, Reddy moved over there. We are going to play this in one piano, 4 hands. That's one of the fun things about being pianists. You get to actually share an instrument, but also you get to play on 2 pianos. So here we go, 2 dances for piano, 4 hands, Dvorak and Arthur Benjamin.
Yeah, we heard music that was so different with each other, right? Now, I'm pretty sure that a lot of you have read, books, fantasy books, like, let's say, Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, stuff like that. Yes? No? Okay. Well, this music right now is inspired by a legend from Albania, where we're from. And I need you guys to open your minds and create your own story here. I'll give you simply what's the main story of this. So there is this dark knight that comes to this town, and he wants to conquer, destroy it, and basically annihilate all the civilization there. So there is one hero that is called George. In English would be equivalent to George. So George basically is lying in his bed and he is heavily wounded. And this legend is called the 10th wound of George Lesalia. So the hero basically asks for the last time to gain strength to the gods in order to fight the dark knight coming at his town. So they rely on him, and he pulls together all his strength, and he devotes all his strength to protect his people. So think of it as program music. Program music is music that has a story behind. So I gave you in a way a short version of the story, but I need you to listen to all these elements of music that depict the dark night coming, or the horse riding, and the battle in between. So I hope you enjoy.
So, what did you think? What did you think? Huh? Was that not great? Piano Slam is a program of Dranoff to Piano Fusion, an incredible program that your school and many others have benefited from over the course of many, many years. We hope you continue to enjoy concerts like this, poets like Mecca, and others that come into your classroom and teach you how to write poetry, the poetry coaches that get you through teaching you how to perform on stage if you are fortunate enough to be selected. We look forward to receiving your poems at the end of February, and we look forward to seeing you on stage. So once again, my name is Emily Cardenas, and I hope to see many, 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 many of your poems later on this year.
Okay, we're about to wrap things up. Can we give a big round of applause to the pianists and Mecca and Ms. Cardenas and Sarah Straka from Piano Slam, and thank you to all your teachers for bringing you.